Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Rashid. I'm the General Manager of the Students International Vietnam branch. Today I would love to welcome Timothy Birdsall, who's the Sales Director of Wittenborg University.
So, welcome everybody. I hope everybody is ready to learn something, because that's the purpose of this presentation, is to make sure that you walk away with a little bit of knowledge that you did not have before. The Wittenborg University of Applied Sciences, that is my home. My name is Tim Birdsall. I'm the Sales Director. The Wittenborg is based in Holland, in Apeldoorn and in Amsterdam, and in Vienna in Austria, so we really can claim to be at the heart of Europe and offer a really good European experience. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here with Students International to show you a little bit of knowledge that is going to change your life, or not change your life, but certainly give you something to think about when you're doing presentation skills. So, here's our agenda for today. We're going to look at 6 different topic areas. Firstly, the principle of using a good agenda. Secondly, what are the unspoken questions? What are the questions that everybody has got in their mind at the beginning of a meeting, but they're just too polite to ask those questions up front? Thirdly, standing position. Where do you stand? How do you stand? What do you do with your body? Fourthly, how do you control the attention of your audience? How do you make sure that they're concentrating on you at the same time when you're presenting? Then, death by PowerPoint. Yeah? And the fact that in many presentations there is simply too much PowerPoint and too much information. And the fact that people don't like spending their whole lives looking at PowerPoint presentations. And finally, if you need to do a good PowerPoint presentation, then what are some of the tips and tricks? What are some of the logical principles about doing a PowerPoint presentation and putting together the slides themselves? Okay, so that is the context of today's learning, and that's what you're going to take away home with you. And I hope you enjoy, and I hope you share these videos with other people so that they can get the learning out of them as well. Let's move on then with film number 1. And the title of this film is A Great Agenda. So at the beginning of a presentation, you normally have an agenda slide. And what I want to do is show you the value of this from a salesperson's perspective and the perspective of somebody who is leading a meeting. At the Wittenborg, we make sure all of our lecturers and trainers and faculty staff are prepared to go into a meeting and make sure that there is value for everybody there. Yeah? So, at the beginning of the meeting, an agenda is used to frame the discussion. So to put a border or an idea around the discussion, and to set the direction. Now, if you're a salesperson, you use the agenda. You send the agenda to your customer in advance. You send it to them in an email. And then you give them a call, right? And you say, "Dear sir, did you receive the agenda? What did you think of it? Is it sufficient for you? Do you need any other information from it?" So you give them a call and discuss it. And then you correct it and follow up. You send out the agenda again. Yeah? Because this is the pre-sales version. This is a good usage of an agenda before the meeting. During the meeting, it's an agenda. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We use it to look at the flow, the different elements of the agenda. We use it to visualize our storyline, and we use it to begin the interaction with the audience. So we use it for questions and answers and to start getting the interest level from the audience itself. We lead with it and we use it as an anchor. So very often we will have it here on the wall so we can come back to it during the presentation and say, this is where we are at the moment, and this is what we are going to speak about next. And then, after the meeting, so we have before, during, and afterwards, we use the agenda as a follow-up tool. So we send it back to our customer or the people who were in the meeting, and we say, this is what we spoke about, these are the next steps, and these are the most important points. So we use the agenda 3 times, before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting itself. And after the meeting, it really becomes important as our executive summary and really showing the customer what was important from the meeting itself. Okay? So, in the Wittenborg, we make sure that our lecturers always have a decent agenda for their programs so that our students can see, what am I going to learn? Why am I going to learn it? Why is it important for me? So, we've come to a very, very important part of our agenda. Second piece on our agenda is answering the unspoken questions. Yeah? At the Wittenborg, we have a lot of internal meetings. And from the beginning of 2017, our CEO said, we will not have any more meetings unless 3 questions have been answered at the beginning. Can you guess what those 3 questions are? What are the unspoken questions? The questions that everybody has got in their mind, but everybody's a little bit too polite to ask. What do you think? What are those questions?
Why we had the meeting?
Sorry?
Why we had this meeting?
Why do we have this meeting? Yeah, so why am I here? This is the philosophical question. Yeah? And if you want to make yourself very unpopular in a meeting, you put your hand up and say, excuse me, boss, why am I here? Yeah, that's a great start for a bad career. Okay, what's another question?
What's the meeting for?
What is the purpose of this meeting? Yeah, what is this meeting for? What is this topic for? Okay, and that means, what do I get out of the meeting, right? This means, where is the value for me? What is the purpose and the intention behind the meeting? Any other questions? Time. How long will it take? Well, this is a spoken question because, yeah, people will generally say, excuse me, how long does this take? Because I need to go. Yeah? These are the questions that are asked at the beginning of a meeting. But they're not asked because people are too polite and too diplomatic to ask them. Number 1, why am I here? Yeah? Number 2, what's in it for me? What value do I take away from this meeting? Number 3, action. What do I need to do? What is the next step? Yeah? Be specific about what I need to do. And number 4, if they don't know who you are, who are you? Yeah? Just in case. So I have a lovely example from a big company. It's not on, there we go, which we will not mention the name of this company, but I was working with this company about 2 years ago on a change management project, and a guy called Jack came into the room with an audience of 50 people. Yeah? And he said, ladies and gentlemen, hello everybody, my name is Jack. For those of you who don't know me, Huang, you don't know me, everybody else does, but we'll speak together at the end. I'll give you a little bit of a personal introduction. I'm sure you're asking yourselves why you are here. You are here because I sent you an email that said you have to be here. Thank you very much for attending. I know that you're asking yourself, what's in it for me? There is no value for you in this meeting. It is a mandatory change management and compliance meeting, so you have to be here, but you will not take anything away. And the third question, I'm sure you're asking yourself, what do I need to do? Well, I've got a piece of paper and you need to sign your name on the piece of paper. That is your purpose behind being here. Thank you very much. Let's begin. And the audience was laughing, of course. And at the end, we were asking the audience, so did you like the introduction? They said, yes, yes, very good introduction. And we said, but why? You were no purpose for being there, you didn't really have to do anything, and there was no value. And they said, yes, but at least we knew. Our expectations were set. So the principle is, when you run a meeting or a presentation, your job is to answer these questions in the first 30 seconds of the presentation. If you can do it in the first 30 seconds to 1 minute, then your presentation will be seen as being good and better than those of other people. If you can keep these questions in your mind for all meetings, then that means you will always be well prepared for the audiences that you have in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the unspoken questions. So, we will now come to a very important part of the presentation skill, which is, what do you do about the body? Yeah? Where do you put your hands? Where do you put your legs? So for the cameras, you're going to need to focus a little bit on me now. Standing position and body language. How do you stand? Do you stand like this with your legs close together? The problem with standing like this is that if there's a strong wind, then you start swaying around from the top. Do you stand like this? Like John Wayne? Yeah? Do you know what the concept of a vampire is? Do you know what a vampire is? A vampire? Yeah? They suck blood. And what is blood for a presenter? Attention. So blood for the presenter is the attention of the audience. So something that takes away the attention of the audience is what we call a presentation vampire. Yeah? So just as an example, a few weeks ago I saw a presentation where the guy was wearing a black suit, black shoes, white shirt, and he had been to the bathroom before, and terrible, he forgot to do up his zipper, right? And his white shirt was hanging out of his zipper. Nobody listened to anything that he said in his presentation, right? Because everybody was enjoying the show. So that's a vampire. But there are also vampires associated with the body. So if I'm moving around all the time in my presentation, if I'm dancing, this is a vampire. It takes the attention away from the audience. So with our legs, we put our legs firmly on the ground. You don't put the weight on one leg. You don't cross your legs like this. You don't put your legs too close together. You don't put them too far apart. Put them shoulder width apart and firm standing position. You don't walk and talk. Yeah? Walking and talking around is also not what you do, because otherwise the audience starts looking at where and how you are walking and stops listening to what you are saying. So a firm standing position means it is easier for the audience to listen to you. Yeah? Then there's the hands. What do you do with your hands? Well, we don't put them here. This is called the footballer position. We also don't put them here. This is called the soldier position. And the reason that we don't put them here is because you start doing this. And that's also a vampire. Yeah? So we also don't do this. This is called the axe murderer, or the killing your mother-in-law position. Do you have mother-in-law problems in Vietnam? Yes, you do. Every culture is the same when it comes to mother-in-laws. So we don't play with our hands, you don't play with your ring finger, you don't pray to the Buddha or to Allah or to God, you don't do this. This was made famous by Angela Merkel. You don't point at people, yeah? You put your thumb like so, you put your hands in your hand and keep your hands above the waist. Because hands above the waist look good when you make gestures. If you have your hands below the waist, gestures look stupid. Yeah? So gestures from up here look good, gestures from down here don't look good. Okay? And then we need a technique to bring some of these things together. What we're going to do is we're going to use a technique to make sure that the audience is focusing on us all of the time. Technique is designed to control the audience's attention. It is called the 3T technique. Firstly, you touch the object on the screen that you want to talk about. Secondly, you turn your head to the audience and get the eye contact back. And thirdly, you begin talking. This is the 3T technique. So if I show you the example on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, Students International is proud to present the talk show with Rashid and Tim. And this is the logo that says it all, around the world with you in the center. The touch, turn, talk technique. I touch, I turn my head to the audience, and then I talk. And with this, I guarantee that the audience is focusing on me as much as possible during the presentation. Our fifth point on the agenda is called Death by PowerPoint. And this means that many presentations are run on PowerPoint slides, and a lot of presentations simply have too many PowerPoint slides and too much information, because there is only a certain amount that human beings can really think about and absorb. Yeah? So, here's a slide. What is the most important button on the computer when your presentation is in slideshow? Any guesses? Click. Next slide. Yeah? No, the correct answer is what we call the B button. Because what happens when you hit the B button, I will do it now, and if you look at this slide, when you hit the B button, the slide goes black. So when you hit the B button, the slide disappears, and what happens to the audience? They focus on the presenter. So, as the presenter, you now have a way that you can focus the attention of the audience on your slide or back onto you. So back onto the slide or back onto you. Here's the brilliant technology that means our black button. And the question is, why would we send the screen black? Number one, at the beginning and the end of the presentation, if we begin on a black slide, then when we hit the button, then the light goes on, the attention goes to the screen, and everybody's attention is in the right place when we want it. When there's a question from the audience, we hit the black button because the question changes the direction of the conversation and we don't need the slide while the question is being answered. So it's a good logical place to use that. And the third place is whenever you want to begin the discussion. So if you feel that the presentation or meeting needs a discussion, then you hit the black button and ask a question, and then the interaction can begin. So it's a very small tip, but an extremely valuable one, and one that personally I use all the time when the screen is on and the presentation is running. Well done, guys. Wittenborg University, Students International, you've been concentrating very hard for quite a long time. You've got one more flip chart to go before you can go into your presentation worlds and deliver excellent presentations and meetings. This slide is a flip chart about creating slides in PowerPoint. I know a lot of you are asking yourself, why isn't the guy using PowerPoint to do these presentations? And the answer is twofold. Number one, it's difficult for the camera to actually focus on the slide. Number two, people hate PowerPoint. Yeah, and they love flip charts because flip charts are personal. Yeah, I wrote them with my hand. They're colorful. I invested time, and the audience sees that and they appreciate it. Yeah? And so these are the reasons why flip charts are sometimes a little bit more personal and nicer and warmer than, you know, the cold presentation type. So this is tips though about how to create slides in PowerPoint. Yeah? So firstly, the text size itself we recommend from 24 to 32 points. That seems quite large. In a large meeting room, you need this to guarantee that people can actually see it. Yeah? People with good eyesight don't have a problem, but people like us with bad eyesight, if you go to size 18 text, then we who are slightly blind, you know, have problems looking at the text all the time. We have a clear background, which means a white background with a high contrast text. So maybe a white or a black background with black or white text gives you the best contrast and best visibility over difference. We don't use laser pointers. There's a general recommendation not for laser pointers, because if I need to use a laser pointer, then I need to move away from the picture and point at it like this, which means I lose my eye contact and I start speaking towards the screen, and that's not what we want to achieve. So, this is the amount of time that it takes to present one slide. Approximately 2 to 3 minutes per slide. So this gives you a rough indication of how many slides you can actually present in one presentation. If you have a meeting that lasts 40 minutes, theoretically you could present maybe 12, 13, 14 slides. But in practice, that means you don't have much time for conversation. Yeah? Which means if you want to speak as well, if you're a salesperson, you need to speak much more than you need the customer to speak, so you need to reduce the amount of slides that you present. So that means you have about 20 to 30 minutes for a 10-slide presentation, and that means you don't have time for questions and answers. So just in summary again, yeah? If you want to interact with your customers, with your meeting audience, then you need time. If you need time, you need to reduce the number of slides, and that means you need to think about the content of the slides themselves. Okay, so that's the end of this short sequence of films and this short sequence of knowledge. This is very practical knowledge, so what I expect of you now is to go to a poster or a picture somewhere in your house and stand next to it and present with the touch, turn, talk technique. Yeah? Take your handy, take your mobile phone and ask somebody to film you doing it, and then you will see what they see, and that's the best way of rehearsing and practicing.